something going to change?
Get Los Angeles back to where it was.
There's finally some good news from Los Angeles. The strong winds are dying down, at least for now. It should give firefighters some much-needed breathing room, but they have a very short window. Next week, the winds are expected to pick up again, so it's all about making the most of it. As of now, 5 fires are still raging. The biggest is the Palisades fire. Only 21% of this blaze has been contained. Next is the Eaton fire, which is 45% contained. The other fires are much smaller and mostly put out. Officials have reported 25 deaths so far, plus more than 12,000 structures destroyed. A lot of them were high-value buildings. Look at the aftermath of the fire in Malibu, a beachside city near LA. LA is not out of the woods yet, but they're in a position to look at rebuilding, to plan the day after. Such tragedies always have an immense financial cost. But will it also have a political cost? Will it hurt the leaders of California and LA? First, some context. California is a Democratic stronghold. Its governor is Gavin Newsom. Many see him as a presidential contender in 2028. When Donald Trump won, he talked about resisting, about fighting Trump's proposed policies. But now Newsom is on the defensive. His handling of the tragedy is being questioned. Trump fired the first shot last week. He accused Gavin Newsom of diverting water to the Pacific.
Well, it's very sad because I've been trying to get Gavin Newsom to allow water to come. You'd have tremendous water up there. They send it out to the Pacific because they're trying to protect a tiny little fish, which is in other areas, by the way, called the smelt. And for the sake of the smelt, they have no water. They had no water in the fire hydrants today in Los Angeles.
So Trump is on the offensive and his allies are jumping in. Elon Musk is using his megaphone at X. He's blaming the tragedy on California's diversity policy. Apparently, female firefighters are the problem. Obviously, most of this is fake. It's a classic case of political opportunism, but California is not faultless either. Last week, fire hydrants ran dry in the Pacific Palisades. Local officials blamed the higher demand. Well, newsflash, it is a wildfire. So why wasn't the city more prepared? After all the criticism, Newsom has ordered an independent investigation. Same with the LA Fire Department. Its budget was slashed by the mayor last year. Funding was reduced by $17 million, or 2%. And the fire chief warned against it. Last month, she wrote a memo to higher authorities. She said the cuts hampered core operations. Data also shows that the LA Fire Force is understaffed. They have just one firefighter per 1,000 residents. Compare that to cities like Chicago or Dallas. They have 2 per 1,000 people. And LA is more fire-prone than either of those cities. A lot of scrutiny is also on the mayor. Her name is Karen Bass. She was out of the country when evacuation started. She was in Ghana for an inauguration. So the Democrats have a lot to answer for. Yes, this disaster was unprecedented, and yes, aid should not be politicized. But Californian officials did not help themselves. The question is, will it hurt them politically? Well, the timing couldn't be worse. Democrats lost the White House, the Senate, and the House in November. They were looking at Gavin Newsom to revive them. But I'm guessing the governor will be busy. Meanwhile, Trump will cash in. He is expected to tour Los Angeles next week. He could use the tragedy to make inroads. But can he flip California? The state had a Republican governor until 2011. Actor Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's a Republican, but he's anti-Trump. And Los Angeles last had a Republican mayor in 2001. So we're talking about a deep blue state. And we know that tragedies can reshape political realities, but it will depend on two factors. One is the reconstruction. Newsom is talking about a Marshall Plan style, massive investments and facelifts. If he can deliver on that, he can limit the damage. The second factor is Donald Trump. He's talking about placing conditions on aid to California, which may not sit well with the people. We're talking about one of the richest states in the US. California gives $83 billion more in taxes than it receives. So Trump needs to be careful. He may end up alienating Californians instead of wooing them.
From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, shedding light on the world's top headlines. Detailed analysis on the stories that matter the most to you. Catch it all on Spotlight at 6 p.m. India time and 12:30 GMT. Only on Firstpost.